On a regular day, when others were wasting time, Hamza had a thought, an idea no one had ever imagined, a unique method, a rare experiment, something so unconventional that even imagining it felt impossible. Hamza's eyes lit up with passion. Without wasting a moment, he grabbed his camera and hit the record button. But as soon as he reviewed the footage, his excitement vanished. The result was a disaster. The footage was blurry, dark, and entirely useless. A storm of disappointment raged inside him. But Hamza wasn't the one to give up. He paced back and forth, questioning every detail. Then it hit him. What if the problem wasn't the camera, but the lighting? He closed his lab door with determination and walked straight into the market. Hamza reached into his pocket and pulled out all the money he had, just 30 rupees. That's it. That was all he had. With a heavy heart and hopeful eyes, he looked around and finally found a small white LED light, just within his budget. He bought it without a second thought and rushed back to his lab. When he opened the light casing, he saw multiple tiny white LEDs fixed on the strip. An idea sparked. He picked up his camera and tried placing the LED on top, thinking it would brighten the lens. But it was a disaster again. The alignment was off. The design made no sense. The camera lens started getting affected, and it looked even worse than before. That's when Hamza's eyes landed on a small metal washer lying in the corner. Something that seemed of no use until now. He picked it up and placed it on the camera lens. It fit perfectly. Like it was made for this. That's when the game changed. Hamza cut the LED strip into 8 small pieces and carefully glued each piece around the washer using super glue. Precision, focus, dedication. Each LED segment was placed like a soldier in position, forming a circle of light. Next came the wiring. With the patience of an artist and the passion of an inventor, he soldered every wire carefully. But there was a new challenge now. Power. Hamza didn't have a new battery. All he had were old cells that he had used in previous experiments. Still, he wasn't ready to stop. He wrapped the cells carefully with tape to avoid any short circuits and prepared them to connect. He had an old, broken circuit that wasn't powerful enough to produce 5 volts but could still charge a battery. That's all he needed. Hamza connected the cells and the circuit, believing it would be enough to light up his invention. And then came the moment. He picked a small, shiny red button, simple, elegant, beautiful, and connected it to the circuit. When everything was done, he pressed the button. Click. In that second, the LEDs lit up in unison. A ring of powerful white light surrounded the camera lens like the halo of a visionary. Hamza stared, wide-eyed. "It's working," he whispered to himself. "It's actually working." The dull camera image was now bright, crisp, and high definition. Every frame sparkled with clarity. The experiment that started with disappointment ended with triumph. And Hamza, the boy with just 30 rupees, had just created something the world hadn't seen. This is Hamza Saqlain Fun, he smiled, where passion creates light. But this was only the beginning. He mounted the LED-enhanced washer onto the lens, secured every wire, double-checked the power circuit, and tested the setup in different lighting conditions. It worked flawlessly every time. Hamza then looked at the camera and began recording his message to the world. Friends, if you haven't liked this channel yet, do it now, because I'm not just making projects. I'm rewriting the rules of experiments. What you'll see on this channel you won't find anywhere else. I promise, even your dreams haven't shown you what I'm about to show you here. He smiled again, took a deep breath, and ended the recording with a whisper. Today, we experimented on the camera. Tomorrow, we'll redefine what's possible. And so, Hamza's journey began, not just as a creator, but as a legend in the making. Stay tuned. After that first success, Hamza Saqlain Fun didn't sleep that night. His heart was beating like a drum, not with fear, but with fire. He stared at the glowing circle of LEDs he just invented, that simple ring of light now shining like a badge of honor in his lab. Hamza whispered to himself, "This was just light. Now let's create power." The next morning, while the world was sipping chai and scrolling through reels, Hamza was back in his workshop, eyes wide, hands trembling, not with doubt, but with anticipation. Today, he wasn't building for the camera. Today, he was building for the engine. He opened a small wooden drawer packed with burnt motors, twisted copper coils, magnet chips, and screws that had seen better days. He pulled out one peculiar motor, blackened from an earlier failed experiment. It didn't spin anymore, but Hamza looked at it like a forgotten gem. This motor died once. Let's bring it back to life. He opened the casing, cleaned the residue off the rotor, and noticed something nobody else had before. The core was still strong. The copper wire inside had melted and shorted, but the rotor teeth were untouched. Hamza's mind raced. What if I wrap this rotor again? But this time I don't just use any wire. He ran to his shelf and pulled out an old piece of silver-plated copper wire, something he had kept for a special day. Today is that day. He started winding the wire around the rotor, layer after layer, shape after shape. Not the way the manuals teach, but the way Hamza Saqlain Fun felt. Heart-shaped, spiral, crisscrossed, an artistic rebellion against science. The silver wire sparkled with every turn. "You won't just spin," he whispered to the rotor. "You'll shine." Once the coil was done, he needed magnets. Strong ones. Neodymium, the king of magnetic fields. He had 3 broken ones lying in a corner. Hamza didn't care. He shaved them, polished them, and arranged them on a new 3D printed disc he had made using his cousin's old printer. With the rotor wrapped and magnets in place, he had a new invention in front of him. A coreless, heart-shaped, silver-wrapped coil inside a dead motor, reborn with magnetic power. Hamza connected the motor to the same LED ring he had made the day before. It was a test. If the motor generated enough power, it would light up his invention again. He spun it manually at first. Nothing. He spun faster. A flicker. Then he connected a small, hacked BLDC driver, a custom circuit he had built from 3 broken fans. He adjusted the frequency, reprogrammed the MOSFETs, and added a small capacitor bank to prevent voltage drops. He took a deep breath. Power on. The motor spun, and spun. Fast. The LED ring didn't just glow, it beamed like a lighthouse. The entire table was glowing with white light, but something even more magical happened. A magnet on the table started to vibrate, then jump, then levitate. Hamza's eyes widened. "This isn't just electricity, this is resonance," he screamed with joy. "I didn't make a motor, I made a heartbeat." That night, Hamza recorded his second experiment. This time, everything was crisp, every frame in HD. He explained every wire, every solder, every pulse. He showed how his circuit recycled wasted energy using magnetic feedback. He spoke not as a student, but as a scientist. Not with theory, but with proof. But YouTube didn't respond the way he hoped. The views were slow, the likes were few. And yet, Hamza smiled. Because legends aren't built in likes, they're built in silence. He went outside, to his rooftop under the starry sky, holding that same glowing ring of LEDs, powered by a motor the world had thrown away. He whispered, "Every star you see tonight is made of fire. Every dream you chase is made of failure. And every invention that lasts is born in a moment like this." Suddenly, a voice behind him, his little cousin, Bilal. "Bye, you didn't eat dinner." Hamza smiled and walked back inside. "I'll eat once I invent a motor that can fly." Bilal's eyes lit up. "Like a drone?" Hamza didn't reply. He just smiled and looked at a spare drone frame lying on his table. The next morning, the experiment began. He placed his new motor onto the drone frame, rewired the ESC, calibrated the gyroscope manually. No flight controller, no GPS. Just Hamza and hope. He held the drone tight and gave it full throttle. It lifted. only for 3 seconds. Then it tilted, crashed, snapped. Hamza stood still, silent, staring at the broken propeller. Bilal stood behind him, quiet. Then Hamza walked to the whiteboard and wrote, "What tilts, teaches." That night, instead of fixing the drone, Hamza started another experiment. He created a mini propeller using an old bottle cap, trimmed it to perfection, and connected it to the same motor. He rewrote the code of the ESC, adjusting PWM signals down to milliseconds, and set a safety protocol. If the power exceeded 7 volts, the system would shut down. He ran the test. This time, it hovered. Still, balanced, stable. Bilal clapped. "You did it, bye." Hamza smiled, but his eyes were on the motor. The RPM was higher than before. The vibrations, minimal. Heat. "Zero. This is not a drone motor anymore," he whispered. "This is a generator." The next video Hamza recorded wasn't about invention, it was about reinvention. "Friends," he said, looking into the camera, "you don't fail when your motor breaks. You fail when you stop experimenting. I'm Hamza Saqlain Fun, and I don't copy science. I feel it, and I share it. Not because I want views, but because I want change." He ended the video with a wink. Morning light poured into the lab, but Hamza Saqlain Fun was already awake. His eyes were bloodshot from another sleepless night. Not because of failure, but because of obsession. He wasn't chasing a motor anymore. He was chasing intelligence. What if his invention could talk? What if the circuit didn't just power, but responded? He looked at his drone motor setup, still warm from last night's test. It was efficient, stable, powerful. But Hamza wanted more. He sat down with a notebook filled with sketches and formulas. At the top, one line stood bold. What if electricity could speak back? Hamza had recently read about analog feedback loops, systems that adjust themselves based on environmental changes. He thought, why not build one? Why not make a circuit that learns, that adapts, that breathes? He opened a dusty drawer and pulled out an old Arduino Nano, a sensor module, and a Bluetooth chip. Each one had been salvaged from broken toys, trashed controllers, and failed prototypes. Nothing in Hamza's lab was new, except the ideas. He connected the Arduino to his silver-wound motor. Then he added a temperature sensor near the coil. Next, a vibration sensor directly under the motor mount. Finally, a microphone module, not to record sound, but to read vibration, to feel the environment. His fingers moved with the precision of a surgeon, wires, solder, jumpers. Each click of the mouse as he coded was backed by purpose. He wrote the first few lines of code, but then he added something unique, a line that converted raw data into feedback speech using a voice module. Now, when the motor got too hot, it would say, "Hamza bhai, I'm overheating," and when it was running smoothly, "All systems green, Captain." Bilal, sitting in the corner, burst into laughter. "Bhai, you made a talking machine," Hamza grinned. "Not talking, thinking." The moment the system stabilized itself during a power surge and said, "Voltage spike detected, adjusting RPM," Hamza knew this was no longer an ordinary experiment. He called it the Smart Circuit 1.0, and with it, he didn't just impress Bilal, he shocked the world. When he uploaded the next video, it went viral. People weren't watching just for the invention. They were watching Hamza. His face, his voice, his story. The boy who made a light ring with 30 rupees was now creating circuits that spoke back. Comments poured in. "Bro, you just changed the DIY game. How does he do it without lab tools?" This is what innovation looks like. Hamza replied to every comment, every single one. Not to grow his channel, but to grow his community. That night, as the stars watched in silence, Hamza stood outside holding the Smart Circuit 1.0 in his hand. It beeped. "System cool. Rest well, Hamza." Hamza smiled. Inventions don't need sleep, but inventors do. Yet, as he was about to sleep, he had a new thought. What if I combine this circuit with the power of wireless energy? He jumped from his bed, grabbed an old induction coil and a burnt transformer from a microwave. He wanted to send power through the air. No wires, no plugs. He coiled copper wire into a flat spiral, placed a capacitor in parallel, then built a second identical coil a few feet away. This was resonant inductive coupling, the same tech used in wireless chargers. But Hamza wasn't just charging a phone. He was charging a future. After 2 nights of trial, error, sparks, and minor shocks, it worked. The LED ring lit up, without touching a wire. Bilal gasped. "You made wireless power?" Hamza whispered. "No, I made freedom." But he didn't stop there. He combined Smart Circuit 1.0 with wireless power transmission, and what he had was unprecedented. A self-learning, wire-free system that powered motors intelligently, cooled them automatically, and spoke in real time. He uploaded a demo on YouTube, but this time, he didn't just speak to the camera. He began with a powerful line, "In a world of plugs, wires, and rules, what if your device could breathe on its own?" The comments exploded. Emails flooded in. People were asking to collaborate, sponsor, or even purchase the design. But Hamza refused every offer. Why? Because he wasn't done yet. "I don't want to sell a part of the future," he told Bilal. "I want to build the whole future." And so the next chapter began. Mobility. Hamza now had everything: a talking circuit, a wirelessly powered motor, a stabilized mini-drone. What if he could use these pieces and to build a vehicle, not a car, not a cycle, but something new? Hisar started sketching. 3 wheels, 1 axle, lightweight frame, magnetic levitation support for shock absorption. Bilal watched, puzzled. "What is this?" Hamza smiled. The world's first semi-floating smart cart. In the following days, Hamza scavenged everything: PVC pipes from old plumbing, wheels from broken trolleys, a lithium battery from a dead laptop, and recycled wood panels. The cart began to take shape. He called it the Floatbot V1, equipped with his smart motor system, wireless power loop, shock sensors, and voice interaction. It wasn't just a ride. It was a conversation on wheels. When Bilal stepped on it for the first test ride, the cart said, "Welcome, Bilal. Balance achieved. Let's roll." They zoomed around the rooftop. Left, right, stop, go. And then, just as Bilal was about to speed up again, the system said, "Caution. Low voltage. Please dock for recharge." The cart stopped automatically. Bilal looked back at Hamza, amazed. "This is alive!" Hamza stood proud, sweat on his forehead, pride in his heart. "No," he said. "It's just beginning to wake up." He looked into the camera again, not as a content creator, not as a YouTuber, but as an inventor. People think experiments happen in labs. I think experiments happen in the heart. I'm not showing you projects. I'm showing you possibilities, the grand reveal and beyond. The room was quiet, except for the faint hum of the LED ring softly illuminating the lens. Hamza's eyes sparkled with excitement, but there was a storm of anticipation inside him. Months of trial, error, endless tinkering, and now the moment of truth was upon him. The experiment that began with just 30 rupees had grown into something extraordinary, something revolutionary. He positioned the camera with its newly designed LED light ring carefully on his workbench, adjusting angles, testing brightness, and calibrating the tiny wires that powered his creation. The glow was no longer just light, it was clarity, precision, a beacon that transformed every blurry frame into a masterpiece. The once dull and disappointing camera now breathed life, with every shot. Hamza took a deep breath and hit the record button. This was not just another video. This was his message to the world, a proof that creativity combined with persistence could overcome any obstacle, even with the smallest resources. Welcome back, friends. This is Hamza Saqlain Fun, and today I am proud to reveal the success of our journey. A low-budget, homemade lighting rig that turned my camera from a useless piece of equipment into a powerful tool for creativity," Hamza said, his voice brimming with pride. The video footage flickered to life on the screen, showing crisp, sharp images with vibrant colors and perfect lighting, all thanks to the humble LED ring wrapped around the lens. The shadows disappeared, details popped out, and every frame told a story in perfect clarity. Hamza leaned closer to the lens, whispering as if sharing a secret. "This is just the beginning. With this light, every idea, every experiment, every dream can be captured in its true form." But the journey wasn't without its battles. Hamza remembered the late nights soldering wires, the frustration of circuits that wouldn't charge, and the countless times he almost gave up. Each setback was a lesson. Each failure, a stepping stone. Then came the moment that would change everything. Hamza connected his camera setup to his computer and began editing. The raw footage was stunning, but Hamza wanted more. He wanted to show the process, the struggle, the raw emotions behind the scenes. He created a montage, flashes of cutting, wires gluing tiny LEDs, the shaky first test shots, and finally, the glowing success. The music swelled with hope and determination. This wasn't just a project, it was a story of resilience. Hamza's fingers hovered over the keyboard as he typed the video description with care. "Friends, this experiment cost me only 30 rupees, but its value is priceless. It's proof that innovation needs not be expensive. It needs heart, passion, and the will to try again when the world says no. Like, subscribe, and join me on this journey. Because together, we will change how experiments are done. One light at a time." The video uploaded, and soon, the comments started pouring in. Viewers praised the ingenuity, asked questions, and most importantly, felt inspired. Hamza read every comment, each one fueling his fire to push further. But Hamza wasn't done yet. This project had opened doors to new possibilities. He began sketching new designs, more efficient LED arrangements, compact battery solutions, wireless controls, ideas that could take this invention beyond just a camera light to something bigger. His mind raced with plans for tutorials, workshops, and collaborations. Hamza dreamed of a world where creativity wasn't limited by money or tools, but only by imagination. "Every great invention starts with a simple idea and the courage to try," Hamza said to the camera in a closing shot. This is Hamza Saqlain Fun signing off for today, but remember, your light is inside you. Don't let anything dim it. The screen faded to black, but Hamza's journey had only just begun. Thank you for following along this incredible adventure. Stay tuned for more innovations, experiments, and moments of pure inspiration with Hamza Saqlain Fun.